Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube Star Trek discussion. I am here with the normal Trekkies in arms. Major Rage, how you doing?
Doing great. Proud to be here.
And of course, the Stanley of fan films himself, the Ayatollah of Menardola. We got V-Man right down there. What's going on?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. How are you?
Oh, I'm here to talk Trek. So what we're gonna do here today is we've been trying to fill the gap a little bit. There's been a lack of Trek and Orville now that those shows are currently over and a couple weeks out to Lower Decks. So this week, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be doing a little bit of discussion talking, and we're going to be talking about what if scenarios in the Star Trek universe. So I know that V Man down here has a couple of them already ready for us. So I think we should start with you and I think we should utterly destroy these what ifs because we're probably going to destroy them with our creative thoughts.
Well, one of the things that was always fascinating, and we talked about this at the school lunches that we would have, uh, was back in the Best of Both Worlds. Uh, Captain Picard was assimilated by the Borg. We didn't know what the hell was going to happen. Is this where it's going to end? Is Riker going to be captain? Is Patrick Stewart on his way out? We didn't know. But that's one, and they kind of revisited this a couple of years later when there was 10 billion enterprises in space, and we see a grizzly old Will Riker. He was like, we won't go back. What if the Borg took over? And this what if scenario is, what are your guys' thoughts on if they had actually done a full season of Picard as Locutus and Will Riker as captain of the Enterprise, and them actually battling to keep Earth or retake the Federation back? And maybe at the end of that season, do they kill Picard or do they get him back? Like, what would you guys do? What would you think of that what if scenario? Because I mean, season 4 is arguably one of the best seasons of Star Trek, but do you think this would make it better? Or what would some of those storylines look like with a Borgified Picard trying to assimilate the Federation? How would it change that season? What do you think?
I'll start off really quick. I just want to say that I would say that what we need to do is shift every single season up one, and then just kind of let season 7, except for the last episode, kind of fall off. So we still, so season 6 then becomes season 7, and then all good things then just becomes the last episode of what would be then season 7, but it's actually season 6.
Hmm.
I do like that idea, but here's my big problem with the Borg. The Borg were always OP as all get out. So one cube basically took out the Federation. And the problem I had, this is what the difference between the Dominion War and the Borg is. The Borg only sent one cube, and it was always like, the Borg always had access to the Alpha Quadrant. They had transwarp conduits. I mean, back then, of course, they didn't have that written, and that was not a thing. I understand that. So before people scream in the comments that, but that wasn't written back then. Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, with the transwarp and everything like that, like they could have had 4 or 5 Borg cubes there. They could have had a million Borg cubes there in no time. So my biggest problem was is they always sent one cube, and I get it. It's the Borg. They're all about efficiency, and they feel that one cube can take out the entire Federation, which is almost true. Like they lost at Wolf 359. They lost at this battle of they won at Sector 001, but still. So a whole season of that, though, I think would have been very grim and very no win scenario. Now, like if the Borg were like from another galaxy and they got stuck there, and it was the only cube in our galaxy, or the Borg sent it from the other galaxy and it would take a lot longer to get there, and it was like the Borg was trapped there and couldn't get reinforcements there.
So a game of cat and mouse all season could be entertaining. Is that what you're kind of?
Yeah, like so the Borg would come into the Milky Way galaxy, and then they would be like they kind of scan the quadrant or whatever, and they find the most they try to assimilate the most effective person in the Federation or in the quadrants like Alpha and Beta to service their goals of taking over, but just using one cube, because they send it from another. It takes it takes a long time for it to get there from another galaxy, and so it's not like there's like Borg reinforcements. But the way they make it seem in Voyager and in later Enterprise episode, or not Enterprise, Next Generation episodes, is that the Borg kind of just travel where they want willy-nilly. It doesn't take them a hell of a long time to get anywhere in the Milky Way galaxy. So yeah, you're right, Mage. Like the cat and mouse game over the season, and then they assimilate Picard in the beginning because they're like, well, we're getting the most qualified person to take over this galaxy, and we're taking them right from you guys, and that's Picard. Which I would not argue with them. Picard is probably one of the best captains ever. I love Cisco, but Picard is probably a better captain as a captain, So I could see it going that way. But this whole like the whole, if the Borg took over, if they sent like 90 cubes into the Alpha Quadrant, and there'd be no chance. And that's always been my big problem with the Borg, is that there's no chance if there's more than 2, 3. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'll throw it over to Major V-Man if you have a rebuttal or anything like that.
Yep.
So
no, I think the cat and mouse game would be the only way that you could keep that scenario kind of interesting. Like you said, the overwhelming force of the Borg, you either have a face roll of it, or it just seems unlikely. It seems like a stretch that they can, if they manage to somehow beat a lot of Borg ships. So one stranded Borg ship led by Locutus, trying to hit and run guerrilla warfare, assimilate, being chased down by the Enterprise commanded by Riker. That could be pretty cool. But a big fever-pitched battle and the Federation loses the Battle of Sector 001 doesn't sound like very plausible plotting. What do you think, Vance?
See, this is how I would do it, and this sets up the entire, for me, the entire story arc. And again, this is going up just to season 3, season 4, Next Gen. Again, wiping out all Voyager bullshit, all Enterprise nonsense. Because again, I feel Voyager ruined the Borg. But what I would do is I feel like having an entire story arc of the kind of claustrophobic submarine type vibe that you had from the season finale of season 3, where the Federation is not so let's go explore, because we don't have that option now, because this one cube is more than enough. So because why, like, the Borg wouldn't, the Borg was more than a match, just that one cube. Why would they spend 4,000? They wouldn't. They would just, we don't need to. That's why they took Locutus. So the mentality that they would send 4,000, they wouldn't. They only need that one. Why would you waste resources? And if the Borg is one thing, it's efficient. So the one cube is more than a match. So you've got the entire fleet, which is kind of scrambling to we're over here. Okay, we're going to move over here. We're going to try to protect these Federation worlds, but we're not really making a dent. So it's kind of avoiding and protecting and trying to salvage what we can, while this enemy is just doing as much damage to us. Where I think the story would go is have it be all season, these Federation worlds coming together, and eventually get to that moment where they, maybe midway through the season, they get that Borg like Hugh, where then the Borg finally understand, wait, you don't want to be assimilated? That doesn't compute. And that kind of, they kind of get that, the idea, hey, we can introduce this invasive program to destroy the Borg. And at the end, when they get Picard back, like, that's what introduces that thing. And when they finally get Picard back, that with that one program that says sleep, it doesn't do just the cube, it does the entire collective. Thus, it eliminates the Borg. So you have a reason to have, it's a race against time over the span of a couple of months where, it's a reason for it to take so long because they're trying to, what would exactly work against the Borg. So there's a reason for it to take so long. And it would be really good character building of, you lose a world, you gain a world, against an enemy that seems unstoppable. But then at the end, you do have that moment where, Locutus helps you and says, they can't figure out quite how to make the program work. And then Picard says, sleep. And then it works. So I think over the course of a year, you could have some really good, strong stories, a race against the clock, or at least a good half season making it work that way. So that's what I think would be really interesting. And you could still kind of tell some of the same premises, like you have, the episode with Lore, and Data, that could still kind of play out the same. The episode with Tasha Yar's sister, that could still kind of play out the same. But those type of stories, with a different spin, could still be told similarly. Wesley finding out about his father, it could still be told, in a similar fashion. A lot of those same stories could still be told, just in a slightly different fashion.
That
and you
Picard's
still
his
have
father. Yeah, we know that Wesley's father is Picard. So
right. But I don't know, that's what I would do. I think it could be really interesting, as opposed to the 2 hour. But I think introducing the sleep to make the entire collective go, because again, I thought Locutus just doing that one cube, I always thought that was like, why would it just affect one ship? Why wouldn't it affect the entire collective? I thought that was kind of but
well, and I agree. Like, I mean, I'm kind of glad that Janeway kind of nerfed the Borg at the end of Voyager, because not that, and I agree with you. There was a lot of problems with Voyager and the Borg. They really oversaturated the Borg in Star Trek. They did kind of give us a better scope of the Borg, and I think that's what kind of ruined them. That's why I would kind of wish that they were almost kind of like Species 8472. They were from another dimension or another galaxy where it's harder for them to get here. And that's kind of where I got, because with the Borg, it's like, as you said, they only need one, but then why wouldn't they just a couple months later send 2 or 3? You know what I mean? Like it, unless there's like, and Orville's a great example, unless there's like a nuclear deterrent that the Federation had, like some kind, like you said, a virus. But at the same time, it's like over a course of a couple months, like if this cube was having problems with just, doing that, then they would just send another cube.
Well, but again, you're looking at it from, okay, this one cube, but once they assimilate, then they grow, and then they grow, and then they grow. So we're looking at it from that one cube is only going to stay one cube. But if that one cube assimilates Earth, well, then they've got that resource, and then it grows, and then it gets beta, Vulcan, and then it grows, and then it grows again. Like, season 5 and season 6 could be the rebuilding of the Federation. Where I don't think it needs more than that one cube. So I just don't think that it's needed. I think they would just say, one is all you need, because once you, look at the. I know I said I wouldn't go into Voyager Enterprise, but look at Enterprise. Just that, I think it was 2 or 3 Borg that was on the planet from First Contact. Just that right there was enough to cause enough chaos, and they almost didn't survive. So just that one cube is all you really need, because you're just growing and growing and growing. And granted, we hadn't gotten into the culture of the Borg and how they operate as much, but I think the same mentality is there, where they just continue to grow. But I think it could easily be stretched into a season-long arc. I think it would have been really interesting. And again, you could have had Picard come back and the same. I think it would have been nice to rebuild the Federation. But I do agree. I think it would have been kind of dark, certainly along the lines of what we got later on in DS9. So
yeah. Do you mind if I just thought of a what if unless made you have one you want to jump in there with?
No, go ahead, Cheeto.
This is one actually, and I just thought of it because of this conversation. Like, I didn't just make it up, but I always thought in years past, and I know this goes against Roddenberry's vision of Star Trek, but Federation Civil War. You know,
Yes.
and I know that that's very Babylon 5. I know everyone's making the compare, but think about it. Like Babylon 5 was a totally different beast than the Federation is. You know, because the humans are the humans and all the other races are the other races. This is the Federation, where it is like you have a conglomerate of different races that are in a very tight niched alliance. And you know, we really didn't get to see how tight niched that was and how difficult it was to get in and out of the Federation until Discovery in the 32nd century, when the negotiations and everything of Navarre re-entering the Federation. So that was it season 4? It might have been season 4, but still, yeah. So it would be very interesting and maybe more of and yeah, there would of course be space pew pews and everything like that, but it would also be a very political thriller where it's like, you know, just like the American Civil War, you've got planets seceding from the Federation. And in my ignorance in the youth, I called it the Confederation when I was thinking this whole thing through, you know, so the Federation, Confederation. I'm funny. But you know, like, so I'm going to just, for the sake of whatever, I'm going to call it the Confederation. So you've got the Confederation, and let's say, like, you know, you've got races that are at odds with the Federation. You know, they still work with them, but like, you know, and I don't even know like what races are, because they always make it seem so very cookie cutter, happy go lucky. We never get to see that diplomatic discord that they always have, you know, like in the Federation Council. I mean, I know there are probably episodes or little instances where there is that discord, like in the President's office in Star Trek 6, you know, and stuff like that. But like an actual like Federation discord, like an actual Federation Council at odds against one another, and they're like, look, we cannot reconcile this with the Federation law versus individual rights of a species. And there's some kind of big major event that splits the Federation probably almost down the middle. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it would be.
Well,
You know what a great one would have been if they would have went with it. And I don't think it was too late in the series of movies, but the Sona planet. What do we do with this immortality planet? You can't just have everybody going to the immortality planet. Like, that can't be. You know, everybody cannot live on the immortality planet. Well, let's mine it for its resources. You can't do that. You can't mine the planet for, you know, that is a morality conundrum that might split the Federation right down the middle. And on top of that, you got the Romulans who probably want it once they get word of it. The Klingons would probably want it, you know, for whatever, you know, to stay young forever, maybe, or maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. Honor may dictate that they don't need to live forever. They want to get the Stovacore, but the Ferengi want to sell land on it. You know what I mean? But it's technically a Federation planet, I believe. So, or maybe is it a Federation planet? I don't remember.
it wasn't what the Sona the Baku planet.
Yeah, the Baku planet.
No, it was outside of Federation space. Like technically, it's yeah. That's why it was. It was one of those things where it's like technically it's their planet. We had no jurisdiction there. That's why. That's
But it
why
was in
them.
our space, or is in Federation space, I think.
No, it's not Federation space.
It wasn't.
That's why.
Okay.
Like that's why them hiding a cloaked Federation ship underneath the water is just like. Like what? Why did you even put it underwater if it's cloaked? You could have just put it on the ground. Like that never made any sense to me. It's like the whole thing. Like I agree. I think a Federation Civil War, and it's funny that you say that because that's kind of what I'm alluding to in my final film. Because I think it's funny that you mentioned that because like I'm very much intrigued by the thought of a Federation Civil War, and you know because it's and I haven't seen Babylon 5. I think I might have seen a few episodes, not enough to say I've seen the series. So I may go check that out because I think it sounds very interesting now.
Well, the first 4 seasons are very good. The 5th season was tacked on, but the writer J. Michael Straczynski wrote the
Great
whole
writer.
Huh?
He's a great writer.
Yeah, the first 4 seasons was all pre-written, so everything was plotted out from season 1 to season 4 before they even started filming the first season. Now, I don't think they had every script written out, but like all the main points of it and all that was all written out, and they stuck to it until season 4. Yeah, but the Civil War aspect of that show was very interesting, and although I don't feel like it got enough time to breathe, it's still worth a watch. Like as I said, even in I think the first season, you can see the seeds being sown for that. But I would definitely say it's worth your watch. Definitely.
I think because you're absolutely right. Like, what would it take to make this uh, perfect organization? Like, just kind of go brother against brother. And I think Orville did a really great job of doing that with the Mocklins leaving the Union. I really love Orville just on the fact that it's that Trek not taken. Um, I think CBS did themselves a real injustice with not having him take over Trek. Because as much as I love Strange New Worlds, and I think Strange New Worlds is actually rivaling DS9 in terms of my favorite Star Trek. Um, I mean, it's right there for me. It's definitely my favorite out of the modern Star Treks. Um, but I think Orville is I mean, it's right there and next to Strange New Worlds, because both of those, there wasn't a bad episode in either one of those two seasons. So I mean, it's like we as fans, we were just, it was week after
Spoiled.
week a treat for
Mhm.
us, So, but I think, I mean, seeing that was very much something we never thought we'd get to see. Was, wow, you left, holy shit, and as much as it was a cool concept for Discovery, it's like seeing, okay, the Vulcans and Romulans, Navarre left, but I mean, we were so far removed from that event, it didn't really have the impact of seeing the Mocklins leave. Because that right there, that had more of an emotional impact than anything from third or fourth season Discovery did. And that's not a knock at them. It's just that's several hundred years ago. It doesn't have any impact now. It's like, it's just like Earth left. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't really recognize Earth right now at this. I have to get reacquainted. But
Yeah.
seeing the Mocklins leave, which the Mocklins have been, even though they've been bigots, they're the powerhouse. They're the weapons. They're the and they've been side by side with us in battle against the Kalon. And now all of a sudden it's like, man, y'all got to go. It's like, oh shit. And that, I'd love to see that Trek version, where, man, this is, whew, it's kind of like in season 1 of Discovery, when the Klingons are like right there on Earth's doorstep, and they're about to attack, and you're like, dude, are they gonna fucking fire? I mean, I know canon says they're not going to, but holy shit, they're on our doorstep. It's just some things where it's like you don't think you're going to see, and then you do. So I'd love to see a civil war. Like I said, that's where I'm headed toward in my final film, because like I really like that idea. And I think,
You know who I want to instigate the Civil War?
who
The Binars. Because they see, yeah, no, seriously, because they see, yeah, because they see the technological and potential on that planet, and they just want to, like, it just, with their calculations, it makes sense. This is the way to eternal life. And then you get all these other races that basically think the same thing. And like, maybe not, the Binars won't be the leaders of the Confederation, but like, they'll be the ones that get the ball rolling, saying, why don't we mine this planet? Why don't we take this?
they're the Star Trek equivalent of Brainiac. They don't give a fuck about us. They just
Yeah,
want our
that
information.
is 100% correct. Now, what show would you want to see this on, though? Would you put this in like a Deep Space Nine? Obviously not Voyager, but like, or would you put it after? And I know that this is kind of bad because Insurrection didn't come out until after a lot of Star Trek was pretty much over. So I mean, it would have to kind of, logically, it would have to take place after Nemesis-ish era. But like, if you could put it anywhere, where would you put a Federation Civil War at for a whole season?
Honestly, realistically, Strange New Worlds.
Really, that early?
Well, because DS9's already done their war. Let them have it.
But this would be I think, in the place of that war. Like, I would say take out the Dominion War, put the Federation Civil War in its place, in my opinion. Because you're right, like, they do have the Dominion War, so it's like you'd kind of have to change it.
Okay, then replace it with the Dominion War, because I could definitely see Cisco hitting Picard across the table.
Wouldn't that be an amazing scene? Picard and Cisco, like, Bajor like joins the Confederation and Cisco's the leader of the Confederation, and then like, yeah, I can't see. No, I can't see it. But Picard being like the main person, because obviously he discovered the planet in on the Enterprise. God, that would be amazing. That
would be that would be like the most rewound played. Like everyone's VHS tapes are like wore out at that strip.
Now we just need an image of like the first Captain America comic book where Captain America's hitting Hitler. We just need one of Ben Sisko punching, leaping and punching Picard.
Someone draw it up. That needs to happen. I love it.
And Picard has to have the stash, by the way. I mean, call it
any artist viewers, please scribble that up for us and put it in the comments.
I will put $50 down if I get somebody who actually draws a decent picture of it. $50, 50 big ones. If I get a decent drawing of that Captain America for cover with Cisco punching Captain Picard, like Captain America hitting Hitler. There we go. I put it out there. $50.
I love it. So,
Mage, what? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, Mage. We've been rambling. He hasn't had a chance to chime in. I'm sorry, Mage. Go ahead, man.
It's all good. How would you see, like, what would the lines look like? Where would the lines in the sand be drawn in the Federation? Like, who do you think would end up allying with each other in the Confederation? And what outside powers do you think they might flirt with?
Well, I think that the Romulans and the Ferengi would definitely flirt with the Confederation, who want to use the planet for its technological and scientific gains.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I see, that's the thing. It's like the Tellarites I could probably see joining the Confederation, because possibly the Andorians.
I was just about to ask what you thought about Andorians being.
I could,
or would they see it as dishonorable to steal the resource of that planet that's not part of the Federation?
Well, I think that let's go back to Shran though. And I know this is pre-Federation, but look at Shran. Look at the Andorian's base nature. Remember, he went into the Expanse into the Expanse just to get that weapons technology so they could get an upper hand on the Vulcans. So there is some deception there with the Andorians, and the Andorians are a great race that they never, except in Enterprise, they never really fully explore. And
Agreed.
it kind of, and a little bit in Strange New Worlds now, but I could see the Andorians siding with the Confederation, and then in a surprise, like the Tellarites siding with the Federation, basically saying, no, it's not ours. We're assholes, but we're not that big of assholes. Like,
how I see this ending, or at least ending this part of the story arc, and maybe continuing on to like a different one. Like, because what you're talking about is basically universal anarchy over this one planet. I see the Klingons coming in and just bombarding this planet. Because one, there's no honor, because you can never die. And if you can never die, there's no honorable death.
Mm-hmm.
And two, everybody's trying to get this. So nobody has any honor. And nobody's acting like they should. So they would look at this and go, nope, there's no honor anywhere here. Boom, destroy the planet. And they instantly become the bad guys, even though they're not. But they would be, but they're not. So it then becomes, do we attack them now that they've destroyed the planet? But I really see that how it would end, because then it forces a different question. What do we do now? If the planet's gone, but I mean, you really have to kind of rebuild. But that's how I see that ending, because I don't think they'd let that stand. I mean, after they see everybody fighting everybody else, and then they look at their own, like, we're dying honorably, nobody else, screw this. Especially if they look at an ally like the Federation.
All I can see is Worf riding in on a doomsday machine with like chains and stuff like that, and just blowing the planet up.
It reminds me of like when on a Never-Ending Story when he's on top of the dragon. Like,
Yeah, Worf's
I like it.
yeah. He's got the chain over the front of the Doomsday Machine, and it just blasts like the Baku planet just to smithereens.
As long as we have the Doomsday, as long as we have the Planet Killer, sinking inside like the Founder's mud, and we have Worf with that little tear because you can't get him back. It's okay.
Okay, so I'm going to put it out there again. Another $50 if someone gets me an image of Worf on top of the Doomsday Machine with chain like harness or chain reins like this, blowing up the Baku planet right in front of it. Worf like this. That's another 50 big ones, man. I want it. I want it. I will make a T-shirt out of it. I
like it. I like it. So
now that I'm spending $100 on one video. And it has to be a decent picture. It can't just be like your kid scribbled it on a fancy. I'm sorry, I don't think you can draw, not that I know of at least. So no, you can't turn it in.
No crayon and napkin type stuff.
Yeah, no crayon and napkin
looking. This is something we got to wear at Thanksgiving table time.
Yeah.
All
right. Anyway.
Okay, so last one because I know Mage has to leave here quick. So last one. What if the Dominion War? What if we lost the Dominion War, and then Voyager gets home to see everything's kind of screwed because they got home and everything was kind of peachy keen and hunky dory for them. And it's like, oh man, let's go to Quarks. What if they get home and they're like, oh man, we shit, everything's kind of junk.
This would be a good maybe two-part, three-part episode. Because I feel like what if they found a wormhole, like how they get to the mirror universe through the wormhole in DS9? That would have been a good we found this wormhole and it goes back to the Alpha Quadrant, and it actually takes them to another universe where, like you said, the Dominion won the war, and they come out at DS9. They come out at the Bajoran wormhole, and they're like, oh, we thought the Bajoran wormhole was in the Delta Quadrant. Oh, maybe it moved. I don't know. So then they go in there, and it takes them to that alternate universe rather than the Prime, and they get home, and the Dominions won. That would be a very interesting couple of episodes. I admit. I mean, if you want to do a whole season, you could probably do it, but
dude, like they had so many. I was so disappointed that we never got any type of closure with what happened. I feel like with today's streaming technology, with Paramount Plus and everybody, we have 7 of 9 back, on for season 3 of Picard, and she's supposed to have her own ship or whatnot. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen any Star Trek. But I feel like this is now the proper time to, hey, give us some closure for that crew. And again, I don't like Voyager. I think it's a piece of crap series. But I want that. That was the one thing where it's like, look, you made me sit through 7 crappy seasons of this TV show, and the last thing was like, I'm looking at your butt as you're flying toward Earth, and I don't even know what happens.
I was so mad. Let me just small sidebar. I was so mad at that episode when they got home, and it was just at them flying towards home. I was like, I felt so unsatisfied. I felt like there should have been a whole nother episode after that, just showing reintegration, all the other stuff. Janeway answering for her war crimes, and
no, I walked to school the next day. And I had that, it was almost like after, I mean, the only other time I really had that feeling was after I walked to school after watching Batman and Robin. Ooh. And I was trying to convince myself that, oh no, it's good. It's good. It's just me that's the problem. And I was in mad denial, even though now, I love Batman and Robin. At the time,
yeah, but you love it for a different reason. You love it for almost the same reason why you hated it back then.
Yeah. Yes. That's exactly. Yes. Ding, 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 ding.
That tracks.
It's yes. But with Voyager, I didn't like Admiral Janeway coming from the future. I didn't like them destroying the Borg. I didn't like a goddamn thing about that episode. Just have them get home a little different. Have them get home on their own. Don't cheat to get home. have them actually earn it. I mean, have the entire season of them struggling to get home, and then they actually get home. And to me, it's like if you have to have the future come back to help you get home, like it's just such a. And then we have no satisfaction of seeing what happens. To me, it was like that last episode is just like whatever. And,
Post credit scene, Harry Kim actually gets a promotion.
oh, speaking of, watch
Never
the
gonna happen.
watch the after credits of my final film.
Oh no.
You're gonna love it.
Don't canonize Lieutenant Harry Kim. Do not canonize it.
It's not. Just watch.
Okay, I will.
You're gonna love it.
Admiral Menard.
But no, like I really feel like they should have had some type of closure, and to see the ramifications, because the closest we ever really got was we saw them with the Prometheus, which was cool. We saw a couple talks of Torres talking about the Maquis are dead because the Dominion joined the Cardassians and wiped out the Maquis. A couple hints here and there. And then you have the Barclay stuff. And don't get me wrong, I like Barclay. But there was so much focus on Barclay at Starfleet, but there was no closure for the crew. Mm-hmm. And that was just blah. I really would have loved to have seen them, like, what are the ramifications of, like, losing the war or in the middle of the war, even. Like, have them come back and be part of it, What do you think, Mage?
I think that them coming back in the middle of the war and being able to maybe somehow help and turn the tide could have been compelling. I don't think there'd be a lot for them to do if they came back and the war was already lost. I mean, one little ship with the pitiful amount of torpedoes they had left.
But if they had Borg technology
with the slipstream.
Okay.
Or slipstream. And don't forget, they also had like the knowledge of the species 8472. Like, they had so much technology that Starfleet had access that could have helped, turn the tide against some of the Dominion stuff. Like, they even during the middle of the war, which was roughly season 4 or season 6 of DS9 was season 4 of season 7, which was the ending of the war, was season 5 of Voyager. And even there, you still had quite a bit of decent technology with Voyager. So even at that point, you had Slipstream, you had Species 8472 knowledge. Even those things could have really lent a hand. I feel like that was a missed opportunity for crossover stuff.
I've only seen Voyager once. I'm kind of out of my depth there. I apologize.
Dude, no, you're fine. I envy you. I'm actually on season 6 right now because I watched like Enterprise, I watched DS9 all the way through. I watched TNG, and I'm like, I guess I should get to Voyager.
It's if I'm my personal taste is it was a show of missed opportunity. It's not bad. It's just it's one of those things where it could have been better. And the problem is that it wasn't serialized, and it's a show that it really could have been better. If it was made now, it would be completely different. But it's because the producers at the time had a different mentality. They wanted it to be they wanted people to jump on like that. You could TNG, watch any episode, and what came before didn't matter. Like I said, if it was made now or made for streaming, dude, nope. That mentality would have gone out the window. So it would have been a much different series.
The premise is perfect for serialization.
That's exactly it. It's exactly it.
I mean, how many imaginary photon torpedoes did they fire? After they ran out of their 47 or however many they were supposed to have.
Not to mention shuttlecrafts.
Yeah.
I really felt that even a nod, on DS9 for hey. We have some of the technology from Voyager, and this has really helped out. Like, it just some nod to we couldn't have done some of this without that help. Where, hey, they matter, because I mean, ultimately, what was the point of sending them there? If it just
it feels like Voyager exists in a vacuum almost at
Yes.
times.
I think they wanted it that way, though, at least for the beginning of it. And I do agree with Vance. I think them coming back, not after 7 years, but after like 4 or 5 years, I think that would have been much better served for the series because, yeah, then you would have seen the crew interact with other Federation personnel. You were wrapping up DS9. You do have the war, and yeah, they had encountered the Borg at that point in Voyager. So it's like they could bring some Borg technology home or something like that. And Seven of Nine, let's not forget, she is a big help to, to the problem. She could have been a big help to the war effort, especially dealing with not Borg people. You know what I mean? Like she pretty much intellectually runs circles around, around the Dominion. Now the firepower is not there, but she could also help modify their weapons.
Well, one of the things that I feel that would have really helped, bring them back, because I know DS9, like I said, season 7 was about season
Five.
5 of Voyager. So end season 5, get them home, because then you have at least one Trek series that's in the Alpha Quadrant. Then you got 2 years basically, if you stay with the 7-season format, where they're dealing with the aftermath of the war. And then all of a sudden, Species 8472 is coming to attack Earth, or that's a big bad. Because I mean, really, outside of a couple references of Species 8472, they're not really brought up, and they're one of the most intriguing species there. And to me, it's like instead of going back to the Borg a million times and watering them down, you could have gone to a species that were really built up for you. Or if you don't want to do the Species 8472 because of the heavy CGI that it would have taken at the time, you've got the Herosian, which are built for you. Which, if you remember it back in the early days, they have these antique communication arrays, which are spread all throughout the galaxy. So it's not, even if you jump the 20 or 30,000 light years, they're still there. So they could come to Earth. And they have your technology too for the holodeck. They have your computer stuff. For them to show up on your doorstep or around, you are the only ship that is, has. Yes, exactly. So to me, getting them home after the war, or even losing the, in the middle of the war or afterwards, I think we really needed that. And I think it's a disappointment because we've never gone back to a well that is, fresh with content. I'm so sick of the fucking Borg.
Oh, me too. That's why I'm saying, like, the Borg are always a convoluted plot issue with me, just because of issues I said before. Okay, so I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Do you guys have anything else to add? Anything at all?
No, I'm good.
No, you guys have presented some wonderful scenarios. I think there's a lot of stuff to think about there and a lot of missed opportunity for entertainment.
I'm going to call it right here. I think we're going to do a Star Trek What If Part 2 in the future. And I think we should do it. I think that we should. This was kind of, not going to lie, behind the scenes here. This was a little bit last minute, and it worked out wonderfully, and I'm very happy. Yeah. So, and I got motorcycles. Like, what the hell?
I'll come prepared next time.
Yeah, well, you were more as prepared as the rest of us could be. I mean,
It's all good, man. It's fun, and it keeps it fresh, man. And sometimes that boom, 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 spitballing it's fun, man. It's part of the thing. It's good.
Mm-hmm. And we all know Vance likes to spit on me,
There you go. It's all good fun.
So, with all that being said, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. Major Rage, thank you very much for being here. V-Man, tell everyone where they can find you at, because I know that this is not your primary channel, but we have a lot of love for your channel over there.
Well, we're at No Budget Productions, Dash Filk Ferret Productions, and we make fan films, and occasionally we do a movie review. Just come on over.
Links in the description, you hosers. So anyway, with that all being said, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. Please consider leaving a like and a comment down below. What is your what if? Maybe we'll bring it up next time. Maybe we'll comment back and we'll start a discussion. everything is welcome. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to NerdTube. We are the greatest YouTube channel you kind of maybe sort of heard of. We will catch you in the next one. Live long and perspire.